The crowd cheered his name. But behind the scenes, they were plotting his downfall. A leaked message. A betrayal from someone he trusted most. He had one chance to respond, and he chose silence over revenge. The stadium lights were blinding, but the silence was louder. Cristiano Ronaldo stood alone in the tunnel of the Santiago Bernabeu. His boots tightened, his jaw clenched, his eyes, dark and unreadable, locked forward. This was not just any match. It was his return, but not a welcome one. The headlines had crucified him. Finished. Too old. Selfish. Fans who once chanted his name now jeered him. Even Real Madrid, the club he had once carried on his back, had moved on. A new era had begun. Without him, he heard the boos before he even touched the pitch. Whispers turned to roars. The crowd was a sea of white, but none of it felt pure anymore. Commentators questioned why he returned, chasing lost glory, trying to prove a point. But deep down, Ronaldo knew why. He needed to feel the fire again, to silence not just the critics, but the doubt creeping inside him. The whistle blew. Kickoff. For 30 minutes, he barely got the ball. Every missed touch was met with mockery. Every pass that did not lead to a goal echoed with laughter. Then came the moment. A loose ball on the left wing. He sprinted, like it was 2008 again. Faster than the fullback, pass another, then a cut inside. Snap. A thunderbolt with his left foot. Top corner. Silence. Then chaos. Even the commentators gasped. Not just at the goal, but at the statement it made. He did not celebrate. He stood still, arms outstretched, eyes on the crowd that had doubted him. It was not joy. It was defiance. But he was not done. In the second half, he turned provider. A no-look assist, then a penalty, buried with icy calm. Hat trick. When the final whistle blew, the scoreboard read 3-1. All goals, all plays, Cristiano Ronaldo. The boos had vanished. Now it was chance. Sue. Reporters swarmed him. He said just one thing. When they turn their backs on you, turn up the volume. That night, he did not just win a game. He reclaimed his legacy. Because greatness never asks for permission. It demands it. The locker room after the match was still. No loud celebrations. No selfies. Just the sound of heavy breaths echoing off cold tiled walls. Cristiano sat alone in front of his locker, jersey soaked, hair damp, eyes fixed on the floor. A physio walked by, gave him a nod. He returned it, quiet, composed. He had done what they said he could not, but the wounds from their words were still fresh. Earlier that week, even former teammates had doubted him on live TV. His time is up, said one. He should have retired with dignity, said another. But dignity, for Ronaldo, was not walking away. It was standing in the fire, unburned. The next day, the world watched in awe. Pundits backtracked. Clubs tweeted highlights with reluctant admiration. Fans made compilations. RonaldoRevenge game. But he said nothing. No tweets. No interviews. Not even a post-match celebration. Instead, he returned to training, first in, last out. He had already marked the calendar. The next match, Champions League, away, against one of the strongest defensive units in Europe. Everyone assumed it was a one-time show, a flash of brilliance from an aging star. But they were wrong. He was just getting started. Game day, night in Turin. The atmosphere was intense. Cold air, thick with fog. Opposition fans threw insults as he warmed up. He heard them. He remembered. Kickoff. For 60 minutes, he was marked by two defenders. Kicked. Pulled. Mocked. Then, a corner. He hovered at the edge of the box. A teammate signaled. He moved, rising into the night sky as if gravity let go just for him. A header, clean and violent. Goal. Silence. Even the home fans stood in disbelief. How did he still do this? Ronaldo jogged back with a small smirk. But his eyes, they burned. Back in the locker room, his phone buzzed. A message from an old teammate who had doubted him on air. I was wrong. You are still the king. He read it, locked the phone, said nothing. Because validation from others was never the fuel. Doubt was. Weeks passed. Goals kept coming. He scored in 7 straight matches. Not just tap-ins, long ranges, free kicks, solo runs. But it was not just his performance. It was the way he carried himself. No arrogance, no public outbursts, just focused fury. Reporters noticed. They called it the silent storm. Then came the rematch, Real Madrid versus Juventus. At the Bernabeu, the final home game of the season, the same crowd that once turned on him now held up banners. Forgive us. Return of the King. CR7 Eternal. He stepped onto the field, this time not as a guest, but as a reminder of what loyalty should mean, of what resilience truly looks like. He did not score that night, but he did not need to. Every touch was met with applause, every pass with chants. After the final whistle, he took off his armband, held it in his hands, looked up at the crowd, then placed the band on a young academy player's arm. A symbolic gesture. The passing of the torch? Maybe, but more likely, a message. I will not always be here, but remember how I stood when the world turned its back. Legacy is not written in stats. It is carved in scars. And Ronaldo, he had the deepest ones, but he never let them bleed in public. Instead, he turned pain into performance, silence into strength, and doubt into dominance. Final note. So, what did Cristiano Ronaldo do when everyone turned against him? He did not fight back with words. He did not post emotional replies. He did not beg for loyalty. He walked into the noise and became louder than it, because the greatest revenge is not rage. It is rising silently until your echo is all they hear, away from the cameras, away from the chants. There was another arena Ronaldo fought in, his mind. Not even the strongest bodies are free from doubt. And when the world questioned his worth, he had to wrestle with the one opponent he could not outrun, himself. Late at night, while the city slept, he would return to the training pitch, alone, under floodlights, chasing shadows. Sprint, stop, turn, shoot, repeat. No applause, no coaches, just the echo of the ball hitting net, over and over and over. It was not for the media, not for social media. It was for the voice inside that whispered, "What if they are right?" And every strike at goal was his reply, "They are not." The media tried to trap him again. They said he was obsessed, selfish, addicted to winning. But they did not understand. It was not winning that drove him. It was evolution. He did not want to be who he was at 25. He wanted to be more at 37. While others posted luxury and lifestyle, he posted workouts. While others celebrated one goal, he chased the next. He never wanted to be remembered for a moment. He wanted to be remembered for a mindset. Then came the moment that tested him beyond football. The injury, a challenge in training, a sharp pain. The physio's face went pale. A torn muscle. Estimated timeout, 6 weeks. For most players at his age, a setback like that meant slowing down permanently. For him, it meant war. Within hours, he flew to a private clinic, 24/7 rehab, hyperbaric chambers, custom treatments, zero rest, and 17 days later, against medical odds, he was back in light training, not because he rushed it, but because his body obeyed his will, and his will was unshakable. Return match, the redemption arc completes. A lead decider, title at stake, final match day. His team needed just one goal to win the title. 90th minute. Still 0-0. The crowd restless. Then, a loose ball in midfield. Ronaldo wins it. He surges forward. Beats one. Then another. Crowd rises. He reaches the edge of the box. Cuts in. Let's fly. The ball curls. Time slows. Goal. Top corner. Keeper frozen. The stadium explodes. His teammates sprint to him. The bench clears. But Ronaldo, he walks to the corner flag, looks up at the crowd, and raises his finger, not to his lips, but to the sky, as if to say, "I never left. You just stopped looking." Post-match interview. The reporter asked, "Cristiano, what message do you have for those who said you were finished?" He paused, looked into the camera, and said, "Pressure creates diamonds. Doubt builds hunger. But when you turn your back on someone, do not be surprised when they come back sharper than ever." Legacy. By the end of the season, he had 26 goals, 11 assists, 3 match-winning performances, a league title, and the respect of every voice that once criticized him. But he did not frame the trophy. He did not hold a press conference. Instead, he posted just one photo, a pair of old boots, worn, cracked, captioned, "They tried to bury me. They forgot I was a seed." Final reflection. What did Cristiano Ronaldo do when everyone turned against him? He looked within. He rebuilt. He rose. Not for applause. Not for headlines. But because giving up was never in his blood. He was not fueled by fame. He was not driven by critics. He was powered by something deeper. Discipline. Conviction. Fire. And when the world doubted him, he answered, not with noise, but with greatness. The world had seen the goals, the comeback, the trophies, but very few saw what came after. When the noise faded again, when the spotlight moved on, Ronaldo was never chasing moments. He was chasing immortality, and that is a lonely path. The next season brought a new wave of critics. They said, last year was a fluke. Age will catch him now. He cannot outrun time. But they misunderstood. He was not outrunning time. He was racing it, on his own terms, in a quiet preseason game. He arrived 3 hours early. Alone. The sun had barely risen. The pitch was damp with morning dew. Empty stands. No audience. Yet there he was, training like it was a World Cup final. One of the younger players arrived early that day. He stopped, watched, silent. Later, he would tell reporters. He trained like he was still proving something. But I realized he was not proving it to us. He was proving it to himself. Mid-season, the team hit a slump. Injuries, losses, low morale. Critics returned. Even fans whispered, maybe it is finally over. The coach approached him privately, concerned. You have done enough, Chris. Maybe it is time to rest more. Ronaldo looked at him and simply said, if the ship is sinking, I will be the last man to swim. That week, in a crucial away match, he played the full 90 minutes, scored, assisted, tackled, led. The team won. The critics, silenced. Again. But he did not stay for the celebrations. He left early, boarded a late flight home. Why? To attend his son's school match the next morning. Even after conquering the world stage, he made time to be a father. Because greatness is not just what you do in front of millions. It is what you do when no one is watching. The day football apologized, months later, he was honored in a global football gala, a lifetime award, all-time top scorer, recognized by rivals, respected by legends. One by one, they spoke. Messi called him a phenomenon. Zidane called him a soldier. Even former critics now praise his relentlessness. But when he took the MIC, the room fell silent. He looked around, then down, then smiled softly. When I was a boy, I was told I would never be good enough. When I turned professional, they said I was arrogant. When I hit my prime, they said I was selfish. When I grew older, they said I was done. But the truth is, I never played for them. I played for the boy who cried when he had no boots, for the man who trained when no one watched, for the father who shows his children what resilience looks like. So if you turned your back on me, I understand. But I hope one day you turn back around and see that I never stopped. The audience stood, not because of the goals, but because of the grace. Legacy, sealed. He did not rewrite the rules. He broke them. He did not demand loyalty. He earned it again and again. And when everyone turned against him, he did not crumble. He did not react. He rose. Final words. Cristiano Ronaldo's story is not just about football. It is about defiance, endurance, belief. It is a lesson to the the dismissed, the discarded. You do not need to argue with the world. Just keep walking, keep working, keep rising, because one day, even those who turned against you will stand to applaud. Time passed. The world kept spinning. New stars emerged. New generations rose. But in every stadium he once played in every country that once doubted him, one name still echoed through the concrete: Ronaldo. Not because he begged to be remembered, but because he left too much to be forgotten. Then came what many believed would be the end. One last dance, a return to his roots, a symbolic move. He signed for the club where it all began, Sporting Lisbon. The circle closing, but not with quiet retirement. No farewell tour, no slowing down. Instead, another mission: to lead, to teach, to build what lasts beyond him. Young players watched every step he took. His warm-up, his precision, his rituals, his calm. He never lectured them. He showed them. And in one final league clash, where Sporting needed a win to reach Europe, he stepped up once more. The game tied, seconds ticking away. The ball fell to him outside the box, and as the crowd rose in a unified breath, he struck a low, curling shot, right corner. The net danced. The stadium erupted. But Ronaldo, he just raised one fist, eyes closed, at peace. The final interview. The world wanted to know, would this be it? Would this be the end? He sat down in front of the camera. No fanfare, no tears, just clarity. I have scored thousands of goals, broken hundreds of records, faced millions of doubters. But the moment I am proudest of is not the Ballon d'Or, not the Champions League, not the finals. It was walking out to train, alone, in silence, when everyone turned their backs, and showing up anyway. He paused, looked into the lens. They thought they buried me. I became the root, and now the tree stands, so others can climb. The story ends, but the legacy begins. He never officially said the words, "I'm retiring." Because for him, the game never ends. He became more than a player. He became a standard, a symbol, a reminder that when you are abandoned, laughed at, left behind, you do not need to shout. You just need to move, step by step, day by day, until your silence shakes the world. Clapperboard epilogue. Today, his boots rest in a glass case, but not polished, still dirty, from the last match, from the last sprint, because he wanted them left that way. As a message to every dreamer who ever felt abandoned, do not clean your struggle. Let them see the date. Let them see the climb. That is what greatness is made of. So what did Cristiano Ronaldo do when everyone turned against him? He listened to their silence, and he built an empire from it. When the lights finally dimmed, and the cameras stopped rolling, Cristiano Ronaldo did something unexpected. He disappeared, not in scandal, not in defeat, but in peace. The media called it vanishing. Fans called it retirement. But Ronaldo never called it anything. No farewell game. No teary press conference. Just silence. Because the man who once answered the world with goals now answered with absence. And yet, his presence was everywhere. Young players still wore his number. Kids still mimicked his free kick stance. Veterans still compared moments to his greatness. He was no longer chasing the game. He had become part of it. But what few people knew was that while the world moved on, Cristiano Ronaldo was quietly building something bigger than football. In the hills of Madeira, high above the coast, hidden from the noise, Ronaldo began a new mission. Not to build trophies, but to build people. He opened a private facility. Not a brand, not a business, but a training sanctuary. No media, no agents, no sponsors, only youth, raw talent, hunger. He mentored, taught, listened, and every morning he was still first on the pitch. Not because he had to, but because it was who he was. A 16-year-old striker once asked him, "Why do you still train like you are 25? Ronaldo smiled, then said, "Because someone out there is 25 and lazy And the world needs to see what happens when discipline never dies. A global ripple. Soon, stories emerged. A girl from Brazil, a boy from Nigeria, a teenager from Kosovo, all training under Ronaldo's guidance. Not for fame, but for character. He taught them finishing. Yes, but more than that. He taught them silence. He taught them how to endure being ignored. He taught them how to stand tall without applause. In an interview years later, one of those students would say, "He gave us more than technique. He gave us a spine. He taught us that being doubted is not a weakness. It is a gift." The museum that was never open. Strangely, there was one room in Ronaldo's Madeira home that visitors never saw. It was locked, always private, always dark, until one day, his son opened it for a documentary crew. Inside, not gold, not medals, not framed jerseys, but a single wall, filled from top to bottom, with headlines, every article that ever said he was finished, every quote that mocked him, every doubt, every insult, every betrayal, pinned there like fuel, and in the center, a handwritten note in his own handwriting. Asterisk, they built my fire. I just chose to burn brighter than they expected. Asterisk, one last game. Years later, during a charity match, Cristiano laced up his boots once more, gray streaks in his hair, a slower jog, but the same eyes. He stepped onto the field. Fans screamed. Opponents smiled with respect. And when he scored, he did not do the SIU jump. He did not celebrate at all. He simply smiled, as if to say, "Now you understand. This was never just football. It was always about something deeper." The echo lives on. In every generation that follows, there will be prodigies, records, superstars, but legends, they are carved in how they rose, when no one clapped, when no one believed, when no one stayed. Cristiano Ronaldo did not fight back with noise. He fought back with work, with consistency, with character, final truth. So what did Cristiano Ronaldo really do when everyone turned against him? He kept showing up. He outlasted their silence. He transformed pain into permanence. And when history tried to erase him, he became ink, now written forever, in football, in hearts, in time. The moment of highest tension came not on the pitch, but in the boardroom. A leak had surfaced, an internal email thread, from a top club executive, stating Ronaldo was no longer worth the wages, not marketable, not good for the dressing room. The message had been shared, mocked, turned into memes, and worst of all, it had come after he had carried the team through an entire season. He had stayed silent, until now. That evening, he arrived early for training. He shook hands with every staff member. Not one word about the leak. But when he reached the dressing room, he stood and looked around. One by one, every teammate went quiet. Then he spoke. His voice was calm, measured, but colder than usual. "I gave my soul for this shirt. I never asked for loyalty, but I gave it anyway. If anyone here believes I'm a burden, say it now, so I can leave with my head high." No one spoke. No one moved. Because deep down, they knew no one had worked harder. No one had sacrificed more. Not even the club's biggest stars trained like him. The next match was crucial. A Champions League semifinal. Ronaldo started on the bench. Officially, it was rest. But insiders knew. It was punishment for speaking out. The scoreline turned sour quickly. 1-0 down. Then 2. The coach hesitated. Time ticking. Pressure mounting. Then the assistant whispered something. A nod. A substitution board raised. Number 7. The stadium erupted. He jogged on. Expression unreadable. Focused. Controlled. In the 74th minute, he received the ball on the left. One touch. Cut inside. Strike. Goal. He did not celebrate. He picked up the ball from the net and ran back to the center circle. In the 88th, a corner, a header, goal, tie game. But he still did not celebrate. He toned, pointed to the dugout, and said just 3 words. "This is why." In the final minute of stoppage time, A teammate was fouled. Penalty. Ronaldo placed the ball. 30 million watched. He breathed in, took 3 steps, and fired. Top corner. Hat trick. Victory. He stood still, then looked straight into the director's box. Not in anger, not in revenge, just truth, quiet and burning. After the match, the club released a brief statement. It read, "Cristiano Ronaldo has proven, once again, who he is." But it was too late. The damage was done. The respect that should have been constant had to be earned again, and he was tired of earning it. At the end of the season, he left, not in scandal, not in fury, just with a handshake and one sentence to the press. "They valued my name, not my work, and I will never stay where work is unseen." Years later, the same club built a statue, held a tribute, invited him to speak. He came, he smiled, he thanked the fans. But when asked if he would return, he said, "I've already returned. Every time someone doubts me, and every time I answer with silence and a goal." The lesson was never about football. It was about how you carry yourself when disrespected, about letting your work speak after the world stops listening, about walking away from places that benefit from your greatness but refuse to acknowledge it. Ronaldo did not expose the club. He did not retaliate. He did what only the truly great do. He let the ball tell the truth. And in the end, the truth was louder than any betrayer.